After 3 decades of isolation from the U.S., Cuba looks like a freeze frame taken from the 1950s. Children play stickball in the park, and vintage Cadillacs and Chevrolets are still on the road. Cigars are rolled by hand, and fine Cuban rum still flows in the bars and restaurants, haunted by the ghost of Ernest Hemingway. And even in this hemisphere's last bastion of socialism, the legendary Tropicana Club offers its lusty and somewhat dated dance revue for international tourists. But everyday life in Cuba is neither nostalgic nor glamorous. This is a country in deep economic pain following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Billions in oil subsidies dried up instantly, forcing Cubans out of their cars and onto horse-drawn carts and bicycles. Everything at this grocery store is rationed, including that most plentiful Cuban commodity, sugar. Adding to the hardship is a U.S. trade embargo against Cuba, meant to pressure Fidel Castro into making democratic reforms. But so far, it's only made Cubans angry.
The most difficult thing we have is precisely the policies of the U.S. imperialism against Cuba. That's what's really hurting the place here. But the people here are willing to survive at any rate.
The official U.S. policy is to isolate Cuba politically and cut them off economically, but it's only partially successful. Tourists from almost every other country in the world vacation in Cuba and bring in badly needed hard currency. The very future of Cuba may depend on the success of its burgeoning tourism industry. Joint ventures between Cuba and Spain are financing world-class hotels that spring up along white sand beaches. All of it off limits to Americans because of the trade and travel embargo. These tourists from Toronto find Americans conspicuous by their absence.
Canadians seem to enjoy that because Americans have a way, it seems, of taking over in resorts where they have a presence, so it's quite nice. Seems much quieter.
Playing host to capitalist foreigners is considered a necessary evil by the Cuban government, but justified because the money is keeping schools open and hospitals running. And it is education and health that set Cuba apart from the rest of Latin America.
Janet, no, we were out.
We found children in uniform and in school. Shoes on every child. We found clean, modern hospitals so advanced that people from South America and Europe come here for brain scans, organ transplants, even plastic surgery. These are the rarely reported successes of the Cuban Revolution. But there is, and always has been, a dark side.
It's running.
In January, 34 Cubans boarded a stolen helicopter to escape their homeland. And last year, 2,000 took their chances on the open ocean in small boats and inner tubes. Many more died trying. Fidel Castro saw how democratic reform led to the death of Soviet socialism. So today, he tolerates no dissent and has even arrested some of the few dissidents living inside Cuba. Those who dare to speak out from the shadows of old Havana feel powerless and alone in their opposition.
No one has the courage to take to the streets and protest. There are no leaders. There's no point in going out and protesting on my own because I would be taken away to jail and beaten.
Cuba is on the brink and convinced the United States is trying to push them over. But instead of undermining Castro's government, this paranoia has served to rally the people and breathe new life into an aging dictator. Brendan McLaughlin, King 5 News.